Elementor just released a new 4.0 editor, and we're going to get a first hands-on look on how the classes work. We're going to check out the editor and the new UI. We're also going to take a look at the code output, because that's something I'm personally interested in, and I'm sure many of you are as well. And we're going to see, is this truly going to change how we use Elementor in the future? Let's check it out. The alpha version just rolled out less than 24 hours ago. It's going to be here inside of version 3.29 beta 1. So if you do got that, you go over to your Elementor settings, and now over here we are going to see a new tab called Elementor v4. Now originally, before this rolled out, I thought it was going to be something here in the features that we would turn on and off. I'm really glad though they are keeping it separate. All right, let's go ahead and activate it. First off, they are telling you straight up, do not use this on live sites. You hear that, everybody? Do not put this on a live client site or even your website. Only put this on a testing or staging site. This is only a first look. It is nowhere near ready for being live. So let's go ahead and activate it. And then I got a page set up and we're going to check it out. Let's go ahead and edit with Elementor here and get our first look. So everything here inside of our Elementor panel looks the same, and it is pretty much the same except for this section here with our atomic elements. In fact, if you were to add a new section here or a new container, it is going to be the exact same containers that you are using. And this is the reason why I felt that the approach that they're using here is a really good approach, because this is going to allow everybody to use Elementor as it is. There are going to be a high number of people out there that are not going to want to use this new version because it does start to get more advanced, and they're very happy building Elementor websites the same way. That's totally fine. You have that option right here. But now let's take a look at what we do have in the new editor. We have our flexbox, our div, our heading, our image, paragraph, SVG, and button widgets. These are underneath the atomic elements. Now, another part of the new version 4 editor is going to be atomic components and variables. And both of those aren't released yet inside of this first release. We're only getting the classes and our states, which are the pseudos. We'll take a look at those. Let's go ahead and drop in our flexbox. And you're going to see right off the bat, things are different here. We only have 2 tabs, and the general tab is very basic, very straightforward. We have the links as well over here. That's cool. But let's go to what matters here. In our style, we have our classes. And before we start adding classes, let's take a look at the rest. So we do have our layout. We have our flex controls. They have been updated inside of the UI. It looks a lot easier to use. I do like this layout right here. It looks simple. Now over here, okay, let's close this. We have our spacing. Okay. I do got to say this, I'm going to be very gentle with Elementor and hold off on a lot of critiques and the new changes because this is so early on that a lot of changes are going to constantly be happening on every single update. So critiquing and really breaking everything down at this stage would be very premature. But I do have one major gripe, and that is going to be this new layout here. I got to keep it real. I got to call it out. And plus, I do think that Elementor releases these alphas to get this kind of feedback. So my feedback on the spacing is that this is not good for UI. Having the top, bottom, right, and left, it just doesn't feel intuitive with the brain and how the brain is going to work and perceive things. It would be much better to have the top, the bottom here on the bottom, and then the left on the left and the right on the right. I just feel like it'll be a lot easier for people to really comprehend it because the mind just sees it as that. It'll just make things more intuitive. Okay, that might be my only gripe. Let's keep going. Okay, we have our sizes. We have our minimum and maximum width and height. I do like that. That's pretty cool. We also have overflow options, which is great as well. It's not hidden. It's very easy to access. Then we have our positions. One thing I hope they do is please auto close these when you click on another one. It'll make using it a lot easier. And then we have our typography. You see, this is where we can see we are still in beta right now. You know, there's no need for typography here inside of a Flexbox. So I'm pretty sure all of this is going to change as more updates roll out. And then we got our background over here. Again, things have changed. And you also notice one thing that has changed, or not changed, but that is not in here yet. That is going to be our globals. We don't have our globals for typography or backgrounds yet. But I am predicting and just guessing right here, this has to do with the variables, because our globals inside of Elementor are really just variables. And variables are going to play a very big role into classes when we are setting up our different tokens. When they do have variables, I'm really hoping that we could add variables directly inside of our border radius. But so far, everything is looking okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to just remove this. Let's add a new flex container and let's start adding classes. All right, inside of here, I am going to drop a heading widget. And inside of this heading widget, let's go to style and give it a class. So to get started with this, you just type it in. I'm going to call this one header XL. This is going to be for my extra large header. Select on create. When it is green, this means we are editing the class. We're not editing the widget. We are editing the class. We are adding styles to that class. We'll go over here to typography. Again, this is where we can see everything is premature. Ideally, typography would be at the top when we are using our header or paragraph. That would be better for UI. We'll add our font family, and custom fonts are all the way at the bottom. Hopefully that gets changed as well. Let's go ahead and give it the font weight. I'm going to make this bold. Change this to rem. Another thing I hope they change later in the updates are the defaults, because we should never use pixels for font sizes. And for this, I'm going to give it 5 rem. All right, let's go ahead and align this to the left. I'm not going to give it a text color. I'm going to leave it as it is. Let me go ahead and give it a line height. I'm going to change this to M, give it a 1. And you can see too, we're getting these dots. Now that's pretty cool. They got that from bricks. Now I really hope that as Elementor is doing this, I support Elementor shamelessly copying bricks, because bricks executes the whole class-based workflow amazingly. So the more that they copy bricks, the better for us, you know? So we do have these dots showing what is connected to this class, and we're going to have different color dots. Now, one thing I hope that they do in the future is allow us to click on these dots to undo the styles just like they do in bricks. That'll be dope. Okay, everything is good here. This is set up. Now to lock it in, you just click on the local. As long as this isn't highlighted, nothing changes. For example, let's go ahead and add in a color. Let's see here. I'm going to go to text color and I'm going to make this a blue. Now this blue, it is not connected to this class because this class is locked right now. And what that means is let's add in a new heading. I'm going to drop in a new one here. We're going to go over to style. I'm going to find my class, my header XL, and you see it's not changing the color. But if we were to add a new class, I'm going to call this one just a temporary class, color purple. Let me go ahead and turn this into a class. This is activated. Go here to my color and let's select a purple color. I'm just going to use the color picker. Let me make it really purple. Okay, that's good right there. Let's go ahead and lock it in. Now, if I go to my other one that's blue, let me first undo this blue. Let me remove that so it's back to black. I can find the class, click on it, select on it, and now we could use multiple classes inside of the element. In fact, you can set up as many, but you do got to keep an eye on this order. For an example, let's put in a new class. Let me turn this off. Make sure you select on local. And this is where the workflows are going to change completely. Being able to use the class system, it takes a different approach. Now I've been using bricks heavily for the last couple of years, so I got a really good head start on how to build with classes and use this approach. I remember making a lot of mistakes at first, unintentionally styling classes and messing things up until I got it right, until I had my workflow down. So that's going to be part of the process. Just my take on this is get really used to understanding when you have a class activated and think of it as you're styling a class, not the element. Okay, let's go here and create a new class. I'm going to call this one text center. Let's create that. And you can see here these dots. Again, this is where these styles are for one of our other classes that are inactive. I'm going to select on the center and then I'm going to lock it. I just want to leave this class strictly for center aligning my text. Let's go ahead and drop in a paragraph. I'm going to drop it in here. Let me add in tons of lorem ipsum. go to my style, and now I'm going to select on text center. So this is good, but if I were to do something like that on this class, drop in the text center, let me actually add in a lot of lorem so we could get a good visual. Okay, it's not going, so it is, and it should be. Let's see, I think this might be a bug. Let's see it inside of the front end. Okay, it is centered inside of the front end, so it is a bug. But let's go over to our class manager. All right, so let me go and select on got it. And let's say I put my header up at the top. Now the header, I have it aligned to the left. The text center is to the right. Whatever is at the top is going to override what is below it. So if this class has a text left and this has a text center, then it is going to override it. Let's go ahead and save changes. Turn that off. Let's go back here to our style. And now you're going to see it changing in the order inside of our classes over here, which means technically, let's refresh it. Okay, you can see now it is aligned to the left and not to the center. Now I'm going to go ahead and build a section, and I'm going to create some icon boxes. We are going to set up classes for everything and take a look at the code output. I'm going to drop in Flexbox. And if you want to know right here, the difference between Flexbox and DivBox is that Flexbox, it just comes with Flex enabled. Div is just a block. So they are pretty much the same thing. They're both divs. It's just one's with display flex and the other's with display block. So with this, I am going to go to my style, and I'm going to call this one section L for large. Let's create that. Let's go to our layout, and I'm going to set it up and center it all. Let's go over to my spacing. And from here, I am going to change this. Padding. I am going to change this to a rim. Let's go ahead and give it an 8 on the top and bottom. Let me unlink this one, and left and right, I'm going to give it a 2 and a 2. Then you can set it up for mobile as well, just like you're able to do before. But for right now, I just want to set this up and create my class. Okay, I feel good. This is a solid class. In fact, I could go back up here, and if I want to, okay, no, this is using the old container, so that's not going to work. We could go ahead and give it a class, and bam, it works here. Let me go ahead and delete that, and from here, I'm going to drop in a flex box. Okay, we're going to use this as an inner container. I'm going to turn this into a card. So I'm going to go to my style. I'm going to call this one card medium. And then from here, I am going to add some padding around my card and a background. So let me unlink this. I'm going to change this to a rim. Unfortunately, I got to do that on all of them. I really, really hope Elementor changes the way we are using these. This is the one thing that really stood out to me and I was hoping to see, but I know it's still early on. We'll see how that goes. So 4 and 4 and 2 and 2. Okay, it's kind of a big card. Let's go and add a background to it. And I'm just going to give a light gray background. And then let's give a border radius. Now, hopefully when variables roll out, we'll be able to add a variable in here instead of manually inputting our values. Variables is the way to go. So hopefully, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Let me just go ahead and put in 20 just so it stands out. Okay, we are looking good. We got our card. So let's add in a few elements. I'm going to add in an SVG. And I'm going to add in an image as well because I want to show something that I found very interesting in the code output. I'm going to add in a header, and I'm going to add in a paragraph. For the SVG, I'm going to choose the same when it comes to the images. I'm going to choose that one. All right, same thing for the image. I'm going to choose this. And now what I'm going to do is call this one icon. Small. Do you know what? I'm going to make it icon medium. This is going to be a medium size, and I am going to go to my size and make this 60 pixels by 60 pixels. Right, and let me go ahead and lock that. I'm going to do the same and add it to my image widget. All right, cool. We are good to go on both of those. Let's go to our header. I'm going to create a new one. This one's going to be called header small. And then in my typography, let me go ahead and set this up. space grotesque. Let's give it a bold. I'm going to change this to a rem. And then I'm going to put 1.5 rem. We could align this to the left. I'm going to keep my text color off for right now. And let me go ahead and add my line height. I'm going to change this to an M. M or percentage, it is up to you, but those are the only two metrics to use when it comes to line height. I'm going to put this at a 1.2. I'll leave the letter spacing alone. Now let's go over to our text. And this one is going to be text medium. And if you are curious about the naming, I use t-shirt sizes. I got some other content coming out for design systems. Look out for that coming soon. I'll dig more into how things are being named as far as creating design systems. Let's go here to our typography. Let's use our fonts. We're going to make this normal font size. We'll change this to a rem, make it 1 rem. And then we got to go to our line height, which is going to be M. And I'm going to make this one 1.75. And let's go ahead and grab some lorem ipsum for this. I'm just going to take this amount, go back over here, and let's go back to general where we could fill it in. Okay, cool. We need to fix this card though, because the card needs to be going down. And I'm not going to style anything directly into the card. I only want to style the class. And this is where things really change. Try to style the classes as much as possible and try to stay away from styling the element. Because if I go in and just start styling this element, we're going to create an ID, we're going to create more CSS, and it's going to start to add unnecessary blow that we don't need to have. Okay, let's go over here. I believe it's going to be inside of our layout. Okay, let's go ahead and set it down. I'm going to keep it up and to the left for my card. Now I also need to give it a gap. Let me change this to a rem. Again, this should be rem by default. I'm gonna do this at 0.875. We're not going to put too much of a gap here. All right, let's go ahead and turn it off. Now, let me go up here and add in a new flex box. I could go here and just start duplicating it, but that's not going to show the power of what we are doing. I need to also edit this up here because we can see this is going down. I want this to go to the right. So let me go to my section large class. I'm going to go to my layout. Let's just undo it and undo this. Also, we need to add gaps in here as well because I can see there is no gap. So I'm going to put a 1.25 gap and oops, for that's pixels, let's make it rem. Okay, now we got our gaps. Let's go and add one more. Flex container, awesome. Now this is where we can start to see how this works. I'm going to check out the code right after. Let's go over here. I could just filter through by typing card M. Same thing here, card M. And then we could drop in our elements. Let me drop in an image and I'll go ahead and do the same thing with the heading and the text. And let's go ahead and add in our icon. I'll add a different one this time. Go ahead and give it the class. Icon medium. It only changes by a little bit by default. This one we'll go back and add in a class header. And we'll do the header small. Same thing for the paragraph. We're going to put text and then medium. And let's say we want to make this a dark background. Say we want to create a card that is dark. We could go ahead and give it the background color, make it dark. But then what we could also do is we could create a class. Let me go here to my text, make sure we are not editing the actual class. I'm going to call this one text white. And let's create that. We're going to go to our typography, our color, and we're going to give it a white color. Now we could do the same here. Let's go to style. We don't need to create the class because it's already done. And now we could go ahead and streamline the whole process. Now let's take a look at the states really quick. I'm going to go over to my card and we're going to click on these three dots. When we click on it, we are going to see this states. These are going to be our pseudos. We got our hover, focus, and active. They have already confirmed that later Elementor is going to be releasing after and before as well, which that is going to be super dope. For anybody that knows how to use afters and befores, it's going to open up possibilities to do a whole bunch more. I'm excited for those. But for now, we got hover. So let's go ahead and select on hover. The color is on, which means we are ready to style it. When we're styling it, we're only styling for the hover. So let's go to our background, and I am going to turn this background pink. All right, we'll make it a bright pink. All right, now when we hover over it, we have that bright pink. Let's go back, click on the 3 dots, and we're going to go to normal. Now, if we're editing it, we're just editing the normal text. So all of them are going to change as well. Let's see what it looks like behind the hood. Is this an improvement? So let's go ahead and inspect elements. All right. So we have, let me drop this down here so I can see exactly what we're looking at. Okay. Here we got our page content, the inner div wrapper, and then we have our flex wrapper. So it's just one div. And then we got one div for each card, already looking really good. Let me move this up now. I want to take a look a bit closer at what we're working with inside of this card. So the inner container is only one div. Big bonus point. All right. This is what I wanted to show. This is why I put the SVG and the image. We're able to put the same SVG image inside of both of these widgets, but one of them has a div, and then the other one is using the image tag. So both of them have their pros and cons, but I think that's pretty cool. If you do want to reduce divs, you could just go with the image. But check this out. You go right into image, H2, and P. No divs wrapping around any of these. So the code output is clean. That is great news, but I got bad news. Okay. And that is going to be our class naming. And this, I was very surprised, and I hope this changes. I hope this does not stay the same. It looks like Elementor uses a generated random number letter system for creating the classes or converting the name of our classes into this string right here. And I pray and hope, Elementor, if you're watching, please do not let this be the case. I want to be able to see my classes. I'm very meticulous and I choose my classes carefully. I'm going to use all my headers, all my text. I'm going to use t-shirt sizes. I might even use BEM or something close to it. But this way it allows us to be able to go in when we are using our inspect element and be able to see exactly our classes that are attached to our elements inside of here. We don't want to see these numbers because it is hard to tell. Like if I want to go in and use inspect element, I could go to my H2 and I want to be able to see my header XL or my header small. I want to see that class there because as a developer, I'm going to know exactly the class that I am using for my framework and for my system. I'm going to see it inside of here. So the code output is clean. That's great. But the way that the classes are being changed in the naming convention, not great. And I hope that does change. And, you know, I kind of guess that the reason is maybe they don't want us conflicting with their class names. That could be a reason. And maybe they want to keep it open because later they might use new class names and it could conflict, but that's not the right solution. What I do like over here, what they have done, let's say I tried to create the same class name. You can see I have the create, but as soon as I put the right name, it won't give me an option to create the same class name. We need to do something like that inside of here for the default Elementor classes. But I am going to give Elementor a very hard pass because this is the first look, and overall I am really excited for this. This is the right direction Elementor needs to go in. Now let's see how much further it evolves and grows. So back to my original question, will this change everything inside of Elementor and how we use it in the future? And my prediction is yes, absolutely. I see a huge change. In fact, this is going to be the biggest change inside Elementor since Elementor started. Now, we are only seeing just a little nibbit, just a little tiny tidbit. I think this is probably about like 5 to 10% of what the actual new editor is going to be when it is fully out there, launched, and ready for live production websites. But this is a good time for everybody building websites in Elementor, especially those of you who want to get more advanced, improve your workflows, and build better sites, to start focusing on frameworks, to start learning how these classes work, and start to think differently, because the whole thing about it, and the reason why this is a huge change, is because it is a different thinking process and approach to building your sites. It's more systematical. It is more focused on workflows and systems and processes. So if you are interested in improving your workflows, streamlining the way you're building your websites, using better practices, utilizing classes and frameworks, and you really want to get more advanced in the websites that you build with Elementor, then definitely do that good YouTube stuff. Like and subscribe. That way you can stay up to date as we are progressing through these changes. And now I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this new builder? Do you think it is going to change how we use Elementor? What are your predictions? That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.